The second important thing in healing romantic relationships is understanding the trauma bonding dynamic. And in especially long-term relationships, long partners, why we end up with our partners, and the reason with this person, not the other, and you end up with somebody who's precisely at the same level of trauma resolution as you are. It's about degree of wounding, not necessarily the same abuse. It plays out differently, but the degree of wounding is the same level. If they were less traumatized or had resolved the trauma more, you would never meet them. We are drawn to people that are precisely at the same level, as I said. And sometimes people say, my partner was so traumatized in childhood, I wasn't. And I want to tell you, if you hadn't been, you wouldn't been with that partner. You just don't recognize your own wounding, your own, how traumatized you are, basically. And again, I want to say it's not about the same abuse, it's about the level of wounding. And it's often the emotional abuse that we don't recognize in ourselves, because it's not that obvious. And it's really subtle dynamic that it's not out in the world. We don't talk about it so much. It's I would say it's like overseen part of therapy, really. And nowadays people talk about it more. One of my teachers, Gabor Mate, talks a lot about it. So I invite you to watch his videos. And precisely you attract that partner because you feel comfortable in that trauma bonding, because it feels familiar, because it's something that you experience, because it's the type of love dynamic you had with your parent. And it also comes with certain challenge. You wouldn't be with that person if it wasn't challenging. And on the other side, the person would have not been attracted in you because you wouldn't be a challenge for them either. So a lot of women often ignore nice quotation mark, boring guys, from their perception, boring guys, and end up going out with fellows, with guys that are abusive to them. And it's not necessarily physical abuse, it's emotional abuse. They disrespect them, they play with their boundaries, they treat them as less important. There is a lot of struggle, and there is a lot of fights and mistrust and all this strong dynamics. We know the person is not good for us and we stay with them. We know the person, we want to experience something different, but we cannot detach from this dynamic. We say, oh, I love him so much, it's painful. So I want to invite you to revisit again your dynamic with one of your parents. Where was it painful for you? In which part of that dynamic, or which parent, which parental love are you desiring and you're trying to fix with the partners that you attract? And we have to remember, we cannot have a hope to change or reform another person, have a hope to change and reform our partner. That hope comes from our childhood dreaming. Let's say a child has this part that dreams that one day my parent will be the way I really want this parent to be, and I really need this parent to be. And this dreaming is so strong because we really do need a responsible, loving, attentive, compassionate parent, that this part in us is always trying for this dynamic to happen. And we try to heal, the child is trying to heal this dynamic with another partner, with a romantic partner, because it's the strong bonding there, because this is the wound bonding. And obviously I'm not talking about only heterosexual dynamics. It refers to any kind of romantic relationship dynamics, either it's homosexual or heterosexual. So this is This is a one thing. And the other thing that it really is often what I hear when people say that, yeah, you know, like it's a difficult dynamic and I don't get what I want, but he's a good person, you know, he has value as a person. He's has so many things to offer. And I want to tell you that everybody is a valuable person, because every person is valuable. Every person has a value. It's our human right. It's our birthright that we have value. But it doesn't mean you have to stay with somebody just because they have values. What you have to do is stay with yourself. You are the most important person for yourself in the world, and you always have to come first. And you have to recognize that in your relationship dynamic, that if you do not respect yourself, if you do not respect your own boundaries, your own needs, they won't be recognized and respected by other people. And that's where the healing starts, when we become our own parent and we take care of ourselves first, because nobody will do that for you out there. And if somebody will do it in that dual relationship dynamics, then that person will go into, and I'm not talking about being healed in the relationship, because that can also happen when we recognize we have broken dynamics and the person is conscious and I am conscious and I want to work on this dynamics with this person. And that dynamics switches from sometimes I'm a child and the person takes care of me, and sometimes the person has the child part and I take care of them. And this is flow. But what happens also often in our dynamics, that one of the person becomes the emotional parent to the other, and then the dynamics is it's dependable. And I don't want to use the term codependent, because it's everybody uses that term, like I think a little bit too much, because we depend on a lot of things in our lives. We depend on the air, we depend on sun, we depend on human connection. Actually, we need that as humans. So what I want to refer to just recognize the dynamic that you have to be your own parent as an adult. And this is number one, how you have to start your own healing process to become the parent that you always wanted to have. And I invite you to be more educated about the subject, go more into it. Don't be afraid of revisiting certain situations in your life. They are always there and they will always be with you until you give them a proper attention with compassion. And my main mission is to bring compassion to our human experience, bring compassion to our wounding. And this is the main focus of my job with clients as well, is to relearn or access the compassion for our human experience and access the compassion for our experiences. It's not about blaming or revisiting traumatic events and re-traumatize ourselves. It's about bringing the compassion to the parts that desperately are seeking for this compassion. And that's why we get into relationships that are difficult. So those relationships are indicators, and they show us what has to be healed in us, what is still painful, and to have a compassion and empathy for those parts that are still very active, and start this reparenting process. And the most beneficial way from the reparenting process is gaining the power of decision, gaining the power of choosing what is good for you, for me, gaining the power of maybe leaving the abusive partner. It might take a while. We don't know. Life has a lot of unknown out there. It can take a while to understand the dynamics and protect ourselves from it. But it's worth it to start this process, and you are worth it to start this process, and you are worth it to be respected. You are worth it to be treated in a way you want to be treated. You are worth it that your needs are recognized as valid, because this is your human birthright. It's a birthright to have your opinion respected. And if this is not what is happening in your relationship, or you feel drawn to people that either don't love you or play with you, or they cannot reciprocate the love, or they cannot reciprocate what you bring into the relationship, it's really time to revisit my own wounding. And again, not in order to blame that something is wrong with me, but with a real compassion, you know, that I want to learn, understand, and open up to healing and to that compassion. And compassion, it's not something we can do intellectually, it's something that we have to experience and learn. So again, I want to invite you to, if you want to go on this journey with me, I invite you to join my groups or work with me individually. But it's important, it doesn't have to, it's what I really want to say, it's the relationship that heals. And also find somebody who you feel safe with and who you resonate with. And that can somebody be tricky. That's why I might be a little bit BS here and invite you to work with me, because I know myself, because it can be very tricky for a person who was wounded in a specific way to find a therapist that is not gonna emotionally manipulate them or emotionally abuse them. And I'm not saying that people do that on purpose, but there is a lot of people out there in this profession that are not, that they go into it from many different reasons, but we mainly go into this profession because we have to heal our own wounds. And somebody maybe who and there happen to be individuals sometimes also in this profession that are very, very wounded, and they can project that wounds on you, and they can manipulate you in the same dynamics you actually are trying to heal. So you have to be careful with the energy, and if something in you tells you that this, I don't want to work with this person, there is some red light, revisit that red light as well, because our body tells us the truth, and it's crucial, and it's really important that we feel safe, seen, treated with compassion by our therapist. And if you don't experience that, have that in mind, that this is very important. So thank you very much, and I hope this video helped somebody. And if it did, please share it with other people. This is my mission right now, to really share the awareness of that parts that want compassion and healing, and to make it worthwhile knowledge. So it's not something that is hidden in the dark corners of I would say new times therapy. All right, thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you.